He stood on a glass-edge rooftop at 8:17 p.m. The twin-engine helicopter idled. The $62 billion deal would die in traffic. She needed a pilot. Phones rang. Options failed. A janitor set down a wet mop at the stairwell. "I can fly," she said. Laughter bled through 6 open mics. He made a vow the skyline would not forget. T12:00. Main rotor, 310 revolutions per minute. Low clouds pressed a steel-gray skyline. Concrete trembled. A red countdown burned. The dots pulsed like a measured heartbeat. 2 drones held an unblinking frame. Investors watched with sub-second latency. Rooftop blades ticked at 310 revolutions per minute. Wind pressed low clouds across a steel-gray skyline. Concrete trembled in a tight, metered thrum. A digital countdown showed 12 o'clock in red. The numerals burned against the glare. The second dots pulsed like a measured heartbeat. A helideck beacon swept a slow arc across camera lenses. 2 camera drones hovered at offset altitudes. Their gyros held the frame without mercy. A primary feed rolled to investors on 4 continents. Latency sat under 1 second. The finance lead monitored buffer health with a clenched jaw. Below the roof, a payroll spreadsheet balanced on a knife edge. Contract penalty hit at 8:30 p.m. The clause tolerated no excuses, only delivery. 480 staff faced furlough by Monday. The number mapped to families, rent, and school fees. Every wobble on the roof carried downstream costs. The project manager measured the rotor wash against safety margins. The fuel team confirmed a clean line. The test article waited behind hazard tape. Compliance badges glinted beneath rain dots. A fire tender idled at the stairwell. Med bags and extinguishers sat within 30 steps. The clock rolled to 11:52. The hum deepened by a hair. A thermal camera saw hot spots bloom across a nacelle panel. A junior tech flagged a vibration note. He logged a 2 decibel rise at the casing. He kept his hands steady and his breath slow. Investors watched a live feed. A board chair leaned toward the screen. Market makers weighed risk against time. The city kept moving at street level. Couriers threaded traffic. An elevated train mapped a silver line through mist. On the deck, tape lines marked safe lanes. A windsock held a steady angle. The weather window narrowed by unseen degrees. Operations tallied 3 conditions in red: wind gusts, thermal creep, and ticking capital. The queue of maybes shortened into musts. The clock rolled to 11:49. A gull cut the frame and vanished. The drones adjusted gimbal tilt by fractions. A site marshal counted personnel aloud in his head. He marked each vest color and position. No one drifted past the flare zone. A legal observer tracked every step on a clipboard. Each second stacked like coins. Each misstep carried a price per unit time. Procurement had already frozen discretionary spends. The cafeteria lights dimmed at off-peak hours. Small signals hinted at a larger strain. The blades held their pace at 310 revolutions per minute. Stable, then slightly tense. The pitch actuators settled into a narrow comfort band. A pressure gauge kissed the upper limit of acceptable. A tech reset his jaw and logged the reading. He kept the pen moving. The clock rolled to 11:46. The red numerals felt closer, heavier. The second dots did not blink any slower. A drone cut to a wide shot of the skyline. The city became context, not rescue. No cavalry waited beyond the roof. Someone in the finance channel typed a number. The model updated with a new worst case. The color shifted from amber to a darker shade. 480 staff remained the headline. Their names filled a private list. The list governed real meals and real nights. On the roof, a final checklist marched left to right. Green, 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 then amber. The amber sat beside a minor seal. The team weighed replacement time against the clock. The seal could hold for 9 minutes. The model allowed 6. Camera drones hovered. Investors watched a live feed. No one breathed louder than the rotor wash. The countdown crossed an invisible threshold. The tone of the risk changed. The roof felt smaller by a step. The clock rolled to 11:40. If work, dignity, and earned competence mattered to you, Kindly keep watching and share the story with someone who needed resolve. Security blocked the janitor near the skid. Her orange badge read custodial. A gloved hand redirected her behind hazard tape. Laughter carried on open mics. A clipped chuckle bled through 6 channels. Someone added a drum emoji on the crew chat. A camera drone drifted closer. The lens framed her scuffed boots and tool roll. The live feed kept her inside a mocking lower third. Wilfred stepped into frame with board-level calm. He framed her approach as a PR stunt. He treated the interruption like free publicity. He reminded the room that he never gambled in public. He then gambled bigger on record. He escalated the stakes with deliberate poise. He vowed to marry her if she made the rooftop to port run in 12 minutes flat. He pushed the bet across every channel at once. Legal flagged HR exposure in a side window. Finance flagged reputational risk. None of it slowed the performance calculus now running. A site marshal watched posture and spacing. He noted crossed arms, tilted chins, and derisive smirks. He marked an unsafe social climate. 2 operators exchanged private eye rolls. A third muted his mic too late. The laugh clipped the public feed and stayed. The janitor stood still and breathed once. She adjusted the tool roll by a notch. She kept her gaze on the skid bolts. An investor chat spiked with emojis and odds. Trend dashboards flashed upward arrows. The spectacle began paying for itself in attention. Operations reopened the lane by 2 meters. The safety officer held her clearance at amber. The weather window narrowed another invisible step. A union steward watched from the stairwell. He logged names and time codes. He understood which moments became grievances. Wilfred stayed composed at center frame. He held the room's oxygen with crisp hand signals. He enjoyed the optics of public control. The mic discipline collapsed another inch. Sarcasm leaked through Channel 3. A junior tech typed a joke and regretted it. The janitor requested no favors. She kept her hands at her sides. She tracked wind, blade pitch, and the skid's vibration note. The crowd's energy tilted from curiosity to sport. People wanted a fall. The feed wanted a replay. The countdown slid on, bright and indifferent. The red numerals pulsed like a metronome. The deck thrummed under steady blades. A drone tilted for a hero angle. The city rimmed the frame like a witness. No cavalry waited below the clouds. Wilfred concluded his vow with a half smile. He believed the math favored him. He believed the room did too. The countdown hit 11 o'clock. If dignity under pressure matters to you, please keep watching, subscribe, and share this channel with someone who needs resolve. She stepped into the lane with steady hands. Rotor wash pressed her coveralls flat. She popped the engine bay latch with a gloved thumb. The panel rose on tired hinges. She tagged power safe and grounded the case. A wristband tester flicked green and stayed. She bled a sticky primer pump into a catch cup. Varnish strings darkened the fluid, then cleared. She reseated a loose quick disconnect with a firm click. The safety clip locked home without chatter. She wiped the cowl lip and checked the O-ring. The seal lay smooth, free of nicks and twist. She traced fuel line clamps with 2 fingers. Each bolt head faced the same clocking. No speech. She kept the crew on task with small nods. The camera drone stayed honest at 1 meter. She raised the sight glass against overcast light. Fuel stood steady with no bubbles or haze. She clipped a handheld gauge to the test port. Pressure came up clean and held within spec. She logged the fix on a grease-smudged card. She signed the cowl at 8:22 p.m. A vibration note eased by 2 decibels. The nacelle hotspot cooled a shade on thermal. A mechanic of record watched her hands, then relaxed. He recognized the sequence as learned, not lucky. The safety officer shifted her clearance from amber to green. The lane reopened by 1 more meter. The finance lead stopped typing for 1 breath. The model's worst case softened a fraction. Wilfred's smile tightened at the edges. Optics bent away from performance theater and toward results. First receipt landed on the feed. Level fuel, stable pressure, and assigned airframe. The room recalibrated around that proof. Towers reported a 14-knot crosswind from 210 degrees. If quiet mastery under pressure matters to you, kindly keep watching and share our channel with someone who needed resolve. Skids lifted at 8:18 p.m. per the recorder. The roof clock ran 4 minutes fast. Pitch change read +3 degrees. Translational lift arrived clean and early. She kept the nose honest through rotor wash. Torque stayed under 85% without hunting. She cleared the western parapet by 2 meters. The downdraft curled and fell harmlessly behind. Altitude steadied at 500 feet AGL. Rate of climb flattened into a smooth shelf. She trimmed for the reported crosswind. A small crab held the track like a rail. She called 3 words on radio: rooftop departure, southbound corridor, 12-minute run. ATC acknowledged with a single beat. The corridor opened ahead like a measured lane. The city slid under the skids in ordered blocks. Bridges aligned like stitch marks in dusk light. Coffee in the rear cup holder did not ripple. Vibration lived inside the tolerances she allowed. Engine temps sat mid-green. Fuel flow matched the plan within a narrow band. She eyed traffic at 2 o'clock and let it pass. Separation never became a story. She rode light on the collective through mild chop. The air settled into a usable rhythm. The crosswind freshened and clocked 5 degrees. She corrected a hair and never lost ground speed. The southbound corridor stayed quiet. The drones kept wide and respectful. Her scan stayed disciplined. Attitude, torque, airspeed, compass, and back to horizon. Wilford watched from a split screen. Optics bent toward math again. She checked time against distance. Cushion existed, but not enough to waste. She descended on a shallow glide over river lights. The sink rate held steady and calm. She flared over Washington at 8:29 p.m. The flare bled speed exactly as planned. Touchdown kissed at 2 feet per second. The airframe barely sighed. She set the parking brake and swept the panel. No amber survived. She signed the manifest with a steady hand. Ground crew clipped chocks with practice steps. Timestamp showed 12 minutes and 2 seconds from vow to touchdown. The model reconciled in her favor. The feed captured competence without monologue. Receipts stacked themselves in silent order. A child's bracelet flashed as she powered down. If earned skill and quiet courage mattered to you, please subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and share with someone who needed resolve. Legal filed the delivery with time, coordinates, and signatures. Chain of custody read clean end to end. Operations replayed telemetry frame by frame. 0 over limits, perfect corridor compliance, and stable margins under gust load. The airframe report listed green across engine temps, torque, and vibration. ADS-B tracks matched the flight plan without drift. A quiet call reached the Civil Aviation Authority. Records confirmed SAR wings, 7 deployments, and 1 formal commendation. The regulator added hours in type and recent check ride dates. Nothing raised a flag. Everything strengthened the ledger. Safety cross-checked incident histories. No findings carried her name. No suspensions, warnings, or soft notes hid in the margins. A union steward updated his log. He marked credentials verified and climate improving. Mockery weakened under documented skill. HR noted the live feed optics. They prepared a brief on exposure, consent, and workplace dignity. The tone shifted toward repair. An Air Expo coordinator sent a formal invite. The stamp read 9:12 a.m. The message already waited in her inbox. Program leads compared her logbook to team benchmarks. She exceeded internal standards by comfortable gaps. The scoreboard favored quiet competence. A procurement analyst froze a pending parts order. The fix sequence suggested no replacement needed. Budget lines relaxed a notch. Finance ran a post-event model. Counterfactual losses eased by 6 figures. The red block on the dashboard lightened. The site marshal recorded her vest color, lane adherence, and tool controls. Every observable matched best practice under pressure. The flight examiner on retainer skimmed the footage. He recognized tight scan discipline and crisp energy management. He wrote one word, qualified. Investors requested her full name and license numbers. Compliance prepared a sanctioned disclosure. The ask sounded like respect, not spectacle. Wilfred watched the validation stack. His posture softened by degrees. Optics conceded ground to receipts. A comms lead drafted a measured statement. The language leaned toward process and safety. The draft avoided personality theater. Two senior captains forwarded quiet endorsements. They cited prior joint drills and comm cockpits. Their notes carried weight. The ops chief updated readiness metrics. With her in rotation, the corridor gained resilience. The schedule could breathe again. Security reviewed the initial blockage. Corrective training queued for the next shift. Gatekeeping lost its comic edge. The data team pinned the run to a training reel. Cadets would study the segment for crosswind technique and checklist integrity. Internal chat shifted from jokes to requests. People wanted procedures, not gossip. Culture blinked toward better. Tabloids posted the vow clip at 1.4 million views. If earned reputation and fair workplaces matters to you, kindly subscribe to our channel and share this with someone who needs resolution. She reached the after-school gate at 6:05 p.m. Williams waited on the bench with his backpack zipped. The clinic card showed 2 puffs logged on the inhaler. The day read mild exertion, no night wheeze. She checked the spacer for a clean seal. The mouthpiece looked clear, no lint, no grit. She packed the meds in the top pocket. She kept a copy of the asthma plan behind the zipper. Traffic rolled slow along the curb. She walked him to the bus stop and counted breaths. He held the orange bracelet in his fist. She tucked it around the notebook that held drawn checklists. The notebook carried boxes for water, homework, peak flow, and sleep. He colored the boxes with narrow patience. She used a phone timer for the controller dose. 15 seconds of steady inhale, then hold, then slow release. They rode past the river on the local bus. He watched cranes draw thin lines against dusk. She chose night work after a failed custody hearing. Day shifts clashed with court-ordered pickups and school conferences. Flying had put him in the spotlight once. The parent blog turned a routine drill into noise. She learned to keep their names off rosters. She learned to send forms early and avoid the cameras. She stacked meal prep on Sundays. 3 labeled containers covered protein, greens, and snacks. She kept a small oximeter in the kitchen drawer. She checked it when colds moved through class. She marked the calendar for steroid bursts and clinic reviews. She tracked triggers like dust, smoke, and field trips. At home, he lined toy helicopters on the windowsill. He liked the quiet whoop of safe rotors. She packed ear protection in his bag for noisy days. He wore it without complaint and read. A school counselor emailed weekly. The notes stayed short. The tone stayed kind. Neighbors knew to call her if coughing worsened. She kept a backup inhaler in the mail slot. She clipped the bracelet snug before bed. She checked the knot and smoothed the fray. The house settled to a low hum. She set alarms for both the run and the morning meds. She laid out his uniform on the chair. Socks rolled tight, shoes under the edge. She set the notebook on the table with 2 pens. The first page waited for tomorrow's boxes. She placed the phone face down. She exhaled once. She let the room be simple. The bracelet frayed at 1 knot. If care, second chances, and steady love matters to you, kindly subscribe. Keep watching and share this with someone who needs resolve. HR drafted a consulting role with scope, rate, and options. The document outlined speaking, training, and internal roadshows. Comms drafted a brand hero reel with sizzle cuts. The plan listed embargo windows, influencer tie-ins, and click-through targets. Legal prepared releases for likeness and voice. Usage terms stretched across platforms, regions, and years. A producer requested a day-in-the-life shoot. A stylist proposed wardrobe. A coordinator floated an airport surprise. She declined with 1 line on email. She kept it simple and complete. She said safety came first in every corridor. She said Williams's quiet took the same rank. She asked to keep her keycard and shift. She wanted a predictable roster and standard pay. Operations welcomed the clarity. They needed competence in the seat more than slogans. Finance modeled uplift from a hero reel. The gain looked real. The risk to routine looked larger. The union steward logged the offers and the refusal. The climate kept moving toward better. A school counselor sent a short note. The message affirmed stable routines and early bedtimes. She archived media requests without reply. She muted 3 channels and cleared badges. She scheduled filter changes for the apartment vent. She ordered refills before stock ran low. She set tomorrow's alarms around meds and pickup. The calendar blocked noon for a clinic call. She kept her training slots on Wednesdays. She left the rest of the week unlit. Wilfred read the refusal twice. Optics lost to priorities that did not bend. Comms revised their plan toward process storytelling. The edit favored procedures over personalities. Safety posted the flight to the training reel. Cadets would study touch, timing, and weather judgment. HR closed the consulting ticket. The notes recorded reason and tone. Her badge pinged green at the evening gate. Routine settled like a welcome hum. The board scheduled a 9 a.m. call. If boundaries, caregiving, and earned restraint mattered to you, kindly keep watching and share this channel with someone who needed resolve. In a dim garage at 10:31 p.m., he faced a workbench and spoke plainly. He admitted he always chose mission over people. Tools sat arranged with parade ground neatness. A socket clicked twice in his hand. He said failure frightened him less than disappointing a timeline. He said deadlines felt safer than dinners. He named birthdays missed and messages left unread. He marked promotions won against friendships thinned. He called it a discipline that became a shield. On a balcony at 10:34 p.m., she rested both palms on cold rail. She admitted she chose control over love after a rescue went viral and cost her family. She said cameras taught her to preempt surprise. She said attention rewired daily life into checklists, approvals, and early exits. She said quiet felt like oxygen. She recounted a lawyer's letter and a door that closed. She acknowledged relief and grief arriving in the same envelope. She accepted what routines could protect. They stood at 40 meters above the sea. A salt-cool wind threaded jacket cuffs and hair. Washington lights pulsed like a beacon through marine haze. Below, buoy bells counted patient seconds. Far off, a horn rolled across water like a low drum. The city answered with electric hum. He said mission meant control. She said love asked for release. They listened to their own words and the honest night. He cataloged what he could change by morning. She named the few things worth leaving imperfect. They let the air carry both lists. A phone rested face down on the table. No alerts intruded. Nothing argued with the sky. They watched a freighter move like a quiet building. Deck lights drew a ladder across black water. The wake curled and softened behind. They stood without filling the silence. Their breathing matched the steady wind. Relief visited without ceremony. The board chair landed in New York at 7:15 a.m. If courage, repair, and truth-telling matters to you, please keep watching and share this channel with someone who needs resolve. At 9:03 a.m., the boardroom settled into a hard light. The chair scanned incident risk lines and dismissed her as a liability. A compliance slide labeled her a single-point failure. Insurance riders appeared in red. PR exposure filled a neat, bulleted box. She pushed a CSR deck across the table. Flight safety training for youth, 12 sessions, 0 cost, insured and staffed. The program is tied to community airfields and schools. Metrics tracked attendance, drills passed, and referral pathways. Safety lived larger than headlines. Operations endorsed facility time and instructors. Legal confirmed releases and coverage. The union added volunteer hours without overtime claims. Finance showed a neutral cost curve. Reputation lift modeled positive. Risk converted into service with measurable outcomes. Wilfred placed a single page beside the deck. He stated acceptance of the janitor's program or he would resign. Silence held for 3 breaths. Faces turned from spectacle to structure. Chairs stopped creaking. 2 directors requested clarifying numbers. She supplied schedules, ground rules, and post-event reporting. Nothing required hero worship. The chair kept posture level and voice cool. He issued a clean ultimatum. Cut the tie or lose the helm. The room measured power in that sentence. Everyone understood whose job balanced on which principle. The company secretary read the policy on community initiatives. Authority could not veto documented safety work without cause. A vote request entered the minutes. Hands hesitated, then moved. Governance carried weight again. She waited with steady eyes and unraised chin. The deck sat between duty and optics. Wilfred did not reach for the page. His hands stayed flat. His position arrived without theatrics. The audit lead marked conflicts disclosed and choices recorded. The record would travel well. The Air Expo slotted their demo at 4 p.m. If integrity, accountability, and service over spectacle matters to you, kindly subscribe, and please keep watching and share this channel with someone who needs resolve. Crowds filled the tarmac in late sun. 7 cameras streamed from scaffold towers and truck roofs. A school group chanted her name in even waves. Neon vests bobbed like bright buoys along the fence. She ran a precision pattern from a cold pad. Takeoff, confined area approach, and a crisp 180 pedal turn. She held a hover taxi at 0.7 meters. Skids tracked a chalk line without drift or sag. ATC cleared the box for a feather landing. She trimmed, bled speed, and settled with measured breath. Williams watched from row 3, bracelet in hand. His feet tapped a private rhythm into the bleacher. The course director called each figure by timecode. Judges marked headings, altitudes, and tolerances without comment. Mid-demo, a rotor harmonic buzzed at 2.2 Hz. The sound skated the skin like a tuned wire. She mapped the note to a damper imbalance by ear. She set 2 degrees pedal and a 3% torque shift. The vibration eased into the noise floor. Track held. Energy stayed tidy and calm. A drone camera pushed in on the hover. The airframe looked still like a sketch pinned to air. She ran the box again for proof. Turn, stabilize, advance, and hold. No wasted motion. A grounds crew balanced a coin on the door sill. The coin stood on its edge under wash and light. The crowd saw nothing except a landing like silk. The skids touched as if meeting their own reflection. Timers clicked to the last decimal. The examiner's clipboard showed straight columns without a red stroke. The school group cheered in a single breath. Teachers counted heads and clapped with quiet pride. She powered to idle and scanned the panel. No amber, no creep, no surprises in green. Williams lifted the bracelet once, then lowered it. He breathed out and watched the rotor slow. The announcer read scores without flourish. Numbers lived where spectacle had stood. Crew chiefs waved the lane safe. Marshals reset cones and opened the taxi path. She signed the post-flight sheet with steady hand. Data tags matched the reel and the recorder. A mechanic held up a cracked damper sleeve. If skill, safety, and service-first flying mattered to you, please keep watching to the end and share this channel with someone who needed resolve. At 7:45 a.m., the board chair signed a note on company letterhead. The line stated he had been wrong about her. The envelope carried a wet signature and timestamp. The file entered minutes with quiet finality. Comms logged the acknowledgement as corrective action. Legal archived it beside the ultimatum and vote. Morning shows replayed the harmonic call at 2.2 Hz. Analysts lauded the diagnosis and the measured correction under load. Aviation podcasts cut slow-motion overlays. Instructors paused frames on crosswind trim and energy management. Praise sounded like instruction, not noise. A safety journal requested a technical write-up. Editors asked for procedures, tolerances, and training cues that cadets could adopt. The Civil Aviation Authority forwarded a brief commendation. Language honored judgment, restraint, and community benefit through instruction. Air Expo producers stitched the demo into the highlight reel. The clip sat between legacy teams and national squads without apology. Union stewards posted a note on the board. Workplace dignity paired with documented skill. Culture bent toward better. Parents from the school group sent a card. Small names filled the inside with careful lines and bright ink. Wilfred withdrew his resignation at 9:06 a.m. The secretary logged the retraction and closed the motion. She accepted a part-time safety and training role with protected hours. Contract language locked pickup windows and clinic days. Ops aligned rosters to her guardrails. Night runs stayed predictable. Training blocks landed on Wednesdays. Finance modeled modest uplift from structured programs. Risk decreased as procedures spread. The curve favored routine. HR scheduled boundary training for managers. Gatekeeping learned a quieter tone. Badges would meet fewer walls. Comms drafted a short statement. Process led. Personalities stayed off the headline. Maintenance pinned the cracked damper sleeve above a toolbox. The label read lesson retained, not spectacle captured. Williams folded the program schedule into his notebook. He smoothed the orange bracelet and checked the knot by habit. The company posted the training calendar and sign-up path. Slots filled faster than projections. The rooftop waited at sunset. If accountability, repair, and skill and service mattered to you, kindly subscribe and keep watching to the end, and share this channel with someone who needed resolve. They returned to the rooftop at 6:12 p.m. The wind carried a warm, last light hush. The mop closet door stayed open. The cyclic sat centered at 0 degrees. Nothing hid. Nothing strained. A ground crew rolled chocks into place. Tape lines looked newly painted and straight. He converted the reckless vow into a public pledge. Partnership, safety program funding, and a scholarship for Musa through age 21. The pledge named clinics, cadet drills, and instructor hours. Reporting dates and budgets sat in clear type. She checked the skid bolts by touch. Routine met ceremony without friction. He opened a small ring box. The clasp closed with a clean click wrapped in the orange paracord bracelet. She steadied the bracelet's knot with a thumb. The fray no longer threatened. Williams stood by the stair rail with the notebook. The new elastic held pages flat. The city's golden hour climbed the glass. The canopy reflected a ribbon of skyline like a path. She stowed the notebook in the cockpit pocket. Pen slid beside it, capped and ready. Pre-flight moved in quiet sequence. Fuel, lights, instruments, and lanes. No amber survived. Skids lifted into golden air. The roof fell away in a gentle practice slide. They held a low circuit over river light. Calm air agreed with small promises. The program calendar posted an hour later. Slots marked Wednesdays and stayed kind to pick up times. A drone caught one last wide of the deck. The open door remained the strongest shape. The rotor wash softened across paint and concrete. The city answered with steady hum. The CSR class roster opened at 12 seats. If service, steadiness, and building better rooms matters to you, kindly share the link with someone who needed a first seat.